In this demo, we'll learn how to issue an embargo or OPSL note in the AAR embargo system. Embargoes are used by railroads to issue instructions to temporarily control traffic movements, amend and cancel embargoes, and grant permits to embargoed destinations. The difference between an embargo and OPSL is that an embargo is temporary, applying for up to 1 year, and an OPSL applies for more than 1 year. Once you have been given access to the embargo system, log into railink.com and from the Launchpad, select AAR Embargo OPSL Permit System. From the menu bar, select Embargoes, Issue Embargo. To issue an OPSL note, you would select OPSL Notes and Issue OPSL Note. The form and function are basically the same, but we'll use embargo for this example. Some general rules apply. Embargo officers can only issue embargoes for their own roads, and Level 4 embargoes are effective immediately and are issued by the AAR. Let's look at the general embargo information section of the form. The issuing road is the road issuing the embargo. Checking the operating station notice only sends an email to the affected parties with notice of intent, and no EDI 824 hold notifications are issued. When the operating station notice is checked, Allow Permits defaults to no, and Bypass Local Waybills defaults to yes. The effective date defaults to the day the embargo is being issued. The expiration date will always be 1 year from the issue date, and it can be changed. Checking the Effective Immediately box makes the embargo effective immediately following AAR approval. Embargoes can only be effective immediately for emergency reasons. If you don't check this box, then the embargo becomes effective at midnight, 48 hours after AAR approval. Selecting Yes to allow permits allows permit requests for the issued embargo to be submitted so approved traffic can be controlled. When Yes is chosen, then you can select a permit officer or let it default to any. Selecting No to bypass local waybills means that non-interlining waybills will be matched against embargoes and will receive an EDI 824 hold notification. Include empty revenue cars means that empty revenue car waybills will be checked against the embargo. Include all empty cars is restricted to special circumstances such as weather conditions, derailment, or bridge out of service. All revenue and non-revenue empty cars will be matched against embargoes. You can invite other roads to participate in the embargo by adding them to the Participating Roads field, and enter a note that will only be visible to them in the Notes field. Railroads to be included as participating roads will be suggested by the application during submission if they might be affected by the embargo. Participating roads will only have the ability to add or remove their own stations if they choose to participate. You can pull the text boxes in this form from the bottom right corner to reshape them and make them larger. When max car count is checked, a field appears where you can enter the maximum number of cars allowed. At any time, you have the option to save a draft of your work and return to it later by selecting the Save Draft button at the bottom of the form. The status of your embargo changes from new to draft. Draft embargoes can be found by selecting Embargoes and View Pending Embargoes from the menu bar and selecting Draft from the status filter. There are 4 required criteria that make up an embargo. The commodity is what is being transported. Geography is where it is coming from and going to. Equipment is how it is being transported. And waybill parties determine who is transporting it. When creating an embargo, it is important to know that a waybill must match all 4 of these criteria, or the waybill will not receive an EDI 824 hold notification. The hold notification tells the waybill sender that an embargo exists and why their waybill is impacted. If the embargo allows it, the sender can request a permit number which can be added to the waybill to bypass the embargo. In the Commodities section, search and select Certain Commodities or Target All Commodities. When you select Target All Commodities, it gives you the option to choose ones to exclude. In the Cause section, choose the cause for the embargo. For this example, we'll choose weather conditions and enter the cause details. You can also use the Additional Notes field for further clarification. The Geography section can be broken down into 3 sections. The first set of boxes for origin and destination are the stations to include. Anywhere you see these types of buttons in the form, click the plus and trash can icon to add and remove rows as needed. Select the bidirectional checkbox to have the specified locations applied as both origin and destination. The second set of boxes for origin and destination are the stations not to include. And the third section is for interchanges that can be included. The and/or option applies only to the geography section. Selecting or means that when waybills are compared against the embargo, the route will be considered along with the origin and destination stations. If the waybill route indicates the specified interchange, the waybill will be stopped by this embargo. If you select and, it has to match both station and interchange. You can select an existing template or create a new template to use. The equipment section allows you to target all types of equipment or certain types or group types or by field status as it appears in the EMLR application. For this example, we'll choose to target tank cars. You can choose certain equipment characteristics and clearance codes. For weight restrictions, use the total weight on rail drop-downs to specify weight or equipment dimensions. You can specify cars that should be exempt from this weight restriction in the Except These Cars field. The waybill section allows you to target select or all waybill parties. When you target all waybill parties, you can exclude certain parties by entering one or more CIF numbers. Waybill parties must be designated using the checkboxes to the right of the CIF. Once the appropriate fields are entered, select Issue Embargo. You'll be prompted to select the button again to confirm you're ready to issue the embargo. If errors are displayed, you'll be returned to the form to edit and fix the appropriate fields. Embargo numbers are generated by the system at the time the embargo form is submitted. OPSL numbers must be acquired by contacting RailLink's Customer Success Center. Newly issued embargoes remain in the pending status until approved by the AAR administrator. For more details on the fields or the embargo process, refer to the AAR Embargoes User Guide and FAQ by selecting Help from the menu bar. That wraps up this demonstration on how to issue an embargo or OPSL note in the AAR embargo system. Contact us for more information.